Is it up big enough so you can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of getting loose. I need a new one. Hello, everybody. I'm excited about this one. I've been doing a lot of research on this one. I'm a little bit of a nerd, and I like to look at numbers. And in my previous life, I was a financial and operational analyst, and so I like to look at graphs and numbers and all kinds of stuff. So get to geek out on that a little bit. Hopefully this makes sense to the people who don't like to look at numbers and graphs. But I saw something a long time ago. Kind of two things that I want people to kind of keep in their back of the mind while they're watching this. One is, I heard someone say, everyone can feel what's happening in the market. Good agents know what's happening in the market, and great agents can explain what's happening in the market. So this is all going to be in an attempt, and as I say it, I can do it up here. This is going to be in an attempt to make sure that everyone not just can feel it or know what's happening, but can actually speak to it and explain it. If you have the knowledge you need, that creates clarity, and that gives you confidence to have the conversations you need. If you don't have clarity, that creates paralysis. It creates a fear of having conversations and all kinds of stuff. So the more data you have, the more information you know, the more you can regurgitate it to your clients, and the easier these conversations and the easier everything will be. So today is titled Shifts Happen, How to Sell Houses in a Shifting Market. So we're going to talk about the market month end of June. So we're 2 weeks into July now. So our MLS shows us data for month end every month. So the first of every month we get to see what happened the last month. So a couple of the big pieces of information. Inventory. So we look at months supply of inventory. If you don't know what months supply is, think of it like if no new listings ever came on the market again, how long would it take for the market to absorb what's currently on the market? So we for the first time since 2017, in the Oklahoma City Metro, have broken past 4 months of inventory. We've been under 4 months since 2017. So we've been in a seller's market since 2017. Now it got exaggerated greatly through COVID and everything, but we've been in a hot seller's market since 2017. So inventory since June of 2024, we're up 44% when we look at inventory. So tons of inventory has been increasing, but you see it back in its, I think this is June of 22 is probably going to be its absolute lowest inventory ever was. I think there was like there's like 1,900 listings in the entire MLS, which is insane to think about because we are still selling about 25,000 houses a year, about 2,500 a month still selling. So crazy. So I'll talk about this more in a minute, but inventory is increasing. There's more houses on the market. We're at the highest since 2017 when it comes to inventory. Median sale prices, it still has moderate growth. So I'll talk about this in a minute too, but there's a lag, but basic economics, supply and demand, is going to say if there's more supply of something, the value of it should drop. There's going to be a lag in that, so you can still see it trending upwards for the last several years, even though inventory has been increasing as well. But for the first time, we're moving into what's called a balanced market instead of a seller's market. And I think we're going to see, hey, what's going on? Hey, you're good. Come on in, guys. So I think what we're going to see as we continue to just get into this balanced market and slowly move into more of a 5-month or 6-month inventory, if we get there, we're going to see median prices and average prices stagnate, maybe even fall back down to a more reasonable level like they have been the last 15 years. So it's still moderate growth, but I think over the next year, if our inventory stays consistent, I think we'll see medians start to stagnate or actually fall. Did that go? 2 slides with the same thing on it. Pending sales versus closed sales. So the yellowish one is closed sales. So you can see pending, so each month pending sales and each month closed sales. Closed sales is a month lagged, right? So if it pins in June, it should close in July normally, not always. But we saw for the first time that I could find, we saw it go in 2 different directions in a month. So our closed sales actually fell by like 10 or 12%, but pending sales increased, which was weird. So I looked at that a couple different ways, and ChatGPT and I had a long conversation about it. And I think options in the market are allowing buyers to move slower, have more inspections, ask for more repairs. I think contracts are probably busting more through TOR than they have been over the last 3 years. And I think it may have just maybe timing on a little bit kind of came to a head right here where we actually fell in closings, but pendings continue to rise. And they stayed stagnant last month, but close fell this month. So it's kind of a weird, that didn't compute for me when I was looking at it. But we attributed it, ChatGPT and I attributed it to a lag in closings, which we attribute it to basically buyer choice, buyer options, buyer leverage, slows down the transaction a lot.
I feel like it's also too a lot of sellers still with a COVID mindset. So when you get to those negotiations, you have sellers still thinking that they can say no to a lot of things,
Yeah.
and buyers who are like, "Well, your home's been sitting on the market for over 90 days."
Right down the street, bud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's another one
Yeah,
down the street.
yeah.
I literally had that happen to me.
Yeah.
2 houses next to each other. Buyer submitted an offer on one. They hardball negotiated, and they just went with the other one.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I think it's the seller mindset as
Yep,
well.
and that's with buyer option comes more leverage, and I think it's going to take any negotiate. I think we're just used to having 3 to 4 week closes for the longest time up before COVID. I was doing 45-day closes on almost everything. Just took time to get everything done. Everything got so condensed during COVID, and I think it's kind of unraveling, uncoiling finally.
I think like all of, maybe one, but like all of our deals in the last 3 months have been 45 to 60 to
Yeah.
90 day long, just buyer's choice
Yeah,
or
just
seller's choice.
because they can get away with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather take longer. It's
Yeah.
easier. I got to get my ducks in a row. So yeah, I think we're just seeing a little bit of lag this month, just kind of as an inflection point. Median days on market. So again, you see the ebbs and the flows, the cyclical, annual, summer times, winter times go up and down, but you see the trend. We are up. I didn't have the percentage. I want to say we're up almost 20% when it comes to median days on market year over year. So we're still coming down. Summertime, more demand in the summertime. Days on market's falling. But when you look at the trend across 3 years, we are going up over the years. As inventory increases, you're going to see the trend increase as well. So we're seeing more inventory, more contracts bust, median prices stagnating, but still kind of moderately growing, and days on market moderately increasing. So we are going into a softening market. Now, it doesn't mean the market's going down, it's just not going up at the rate that it was, right? And maybe even going flat or stagnating. Hey, come on in, you're good. I need to open that door so everyone doesn't have to walk in front of everyone, but I like it. Okay, so again, yeah, walk of shame. So again, takeaways. Buyer enjoy increased inventory and more leverage. That's the number one thing buyers are getting. They're getting more choices, more options, more leverage. Sellers must be more aggressive when they are marketing and pricing their home. Beef up your marketing efforts. That's a bunch of what we're going to talk about. Maybe over half of the rest of what we're going to talk about is how to have conversations with sellers and how to market properties correctly in this softening market, because what we've done the last 5 years won't get it done over the next 5 years probably. And then the tale of two markets. I'll talk about that in a minute too. I have a graph that'll show about that. But again, you price accordingly, houses will still sell fast, right? And that's when I talk about two markets. People that price homes accordingly and market well will still sell fast. Prices that are unrealistic or aspirational, that don't market and spend the money to showcase their house properly, are going to sell slower. And I'll show you the two different, because there's a big schism between those two. Okay, just understanding what we're doing, because most people, if we haven't been in the market pre-2017, don't understand what a balanced market is. Dan, do we need to put that on silent? Okay, so there's 3 types of markets. There are buyer markets, there are balanced markets, and there are seller markets. So think of it as like a pendulum that swings back and forth. We will never stay in one very long. It'll always shift back from one to the other. So a shift doesn't mean a downturn. We can be shifting into a buyer's market or a seller market. A shift just means we're moving from one way of doing things to another way of doing things. And it changes what we need to do when it comes to marketing and communication. So seller's market is going to be high demand, low supply. So the seller gets to call all the shots because there's not enough houses to buy. I'm a seller, I got a house, I call the shots. Balanced market is going to be balanced supply and demand. We're going to see that typically means there's 4 to 6 months of inventory. So you saw earlier there's 4.1 months of inventory currently. We've just snuck into the balanced market, but I think everyone's been feeling it for a couple months. And then over on this side is the buyer's market, low demand, high supply. So if there's thousands of extra, there's almost 6,000 extra listings on the market now than there were 3 years ago. So significantly more higher supply, and demand's been steady, which is good, right? If demand falls off, then we're all in trouble, but demand has been good. So understand buyer's market, seller's market, and understand it is a pendulum. It swings back and forth. And the key is to keep it as centered as possible so that you come over here and prices get out of control, and you come over here and prices fall to the bottom. So you can keep it average, keep demand and supply together, and they do that by interest rates is the number one way that they control that. You increase interest rates, it decreases the demand, and then it cools off, which is exactly what we've seen over the last 3 years. Interest rates went up, buyers hit the brakes, how the median prices and everything started stagnating, and we're moving slowly into a balanced market. So come on in, man. So understanding what a seller's, buyer's, a balanced market is. All makes sense? Any question? Super easy here. Okay. So discussing with sellers, next couple of sections here, we're going to be talking about having these discussions and these conversations with sellers. So number one thing is price more carefully. More aggressively is what I like to say too, but more carefully when we're talking with sellers. So typically when I run comps, I like to go 180 days back. I like to go 6 months back when I'm looking at my comps. Maybe now we only go 90 days if possible, if there's enough comps. Because what was happening from 90 to 180 days is different than what's happening from 0 to 90 days. Houses are, you can just see it with the days on market as it trends. It's been coming down at a slower rate. So when we're looking in the past, let's be shorter, because what happened last month is more accurate representation of the market than what happened 6 months ago. Does that make sense? Buyers' behavior changes weekly, really. And so if we can look at comps from the last 60 days or 90 days, rather than 180, we're going to get a better idea of what buyer behavior is. How many showings we should expect, how many days on market we should expect, and values we should expect. So condensing your comps when we're pulling them. Search engine pricing, this is just good practice in general. I hope I don't offend anyone in here. We are selling houses, not t-shirts, not packs of gum. Putting stuff at 99 hurts you when it comes to exposure on the internet. So if you list a house, so I did an example here. So I did a search for 300,000 to 350,000 Oklahoma City, and there are 161 matches. I just dropped $1,000, $299 to $350, and I got an extra 31 listings pop up for $1,000. So when I'm shopping for a buyer, I type in 300 to 350 for my criteria, because that's what they tell me, and we shop in those clean thresholds like that. Well, there's 30 properties that the MLS is not going to send you. When you go to Zillow, when you go to Realtor.com, and you have those sliders that you move your prices, they don't have $299 on the slider. They have $300, they have $395, whatever. So if you're pricing at $299 or $249.9 or whatever it is, that $999, you're cutting your exposure off to everyone in the 300 to 350 group. Does that make sense? There's almost 20% extra listings if I just came down $1,000. So those extra 30 listings, those extra 30 listing agents are crushing their exposure if they would just gone to 400. 300, whatever the number is. So as we're pricing homes, do we get those natural thresholds? Don't do the 999 thing, because it will reduce the exposure on all the search platforms, all the MLS platforms, all that. When shopping for buyers, hopefully you're kind of already doing this. If someone tells me 300 to 350, I'm going down to like 275 to 375. I'm broadening it anyway. But make sure you're including everything, because this is very rigid. If you plug it in and it's $1 off, or it's on the other side of the street as the polygram you drew, it will not include it, right? So when you're shopping for buyers, there's a lot of you manually going in, looking at the hot sheets every day, stuff like that. But when we're pricing stuff, let's make sure we're hitting natural buyer thresholds so that we're not losing all the extra exposure. Does that make sense? Putting it on the 9.9s or the 9.5s or whatever like that, you're going to lose a lot And when I went down 2,000, added another 20 or so. But I wanted to show you the impact of just $1,000. 30 extra houses weren't included. No telling how many hundreds of buyers aren't getting those 30 listings. I should have pulled them up and see if any of them were Copper Creek. I hope not. I'm sure some of them were Lennar. Okay, pricing homes this is a big graph, a lot going on this graph. I'll walk you through it. Pricing homes in a shifting market, you have to get ahead of the market. It's like chasing a ball down the hill, right? You have to kind of get ahead of the ball before you can lean out and try to stop it. Make sense? So I've used this graph for years, even in a normal market or an increasing market. And the idea is to discourage sellers from trying to go after an aspirational price that's not realistic. What we call testing the market. Let's put it out there at 20 grand over and let's see if anyone bites. I'll come down, right? Let's just see what happens. And here's what happens. You've got the test the market value. You've got the fair market value. But what happens with days on market? What's the number one thing buyers ask when they walk into a home? How long has it been on the market, right? Because I'm going to rip this seller's head off if it's been more than 2 weeks. So buyers' perception of value falls over time, 100% of the time, every single time. So pricing it right the first time is so important. And this is just a visualization of what happens. We try this number and we're like, okay, that's nothing happened. Let's drop it, but not down to where Brett told me to yet. I'm still trying to make a little extra money. And then, okay, finally, let's go down to that number you said. Well, now it's been 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Buyer's perception of price is adjusting. And then you're just having to catch up with it because this isn't a science. We don't know where it is. We're going to have to try to find it. And so you just start dropping price until you get a hit. But if you drop a price more than twice and you start creating, I think we talked about this the other day, you create a price drop cadence where they look at you and they see you drop the price every 2 weeks and it's been 10 days since the last one, I want to wait 4 more days, see if we can get another price drop out of you. Then I'm going to make my bad offer. So chasing the market because you price it too high it causes, so again, here's all the lost value where if you would have just priced it at fair market, we would have sold. So this is where you finally caught it. That's all your lost value. And here's all the extra days on market from where it should have sold to where it actually sold. So we're adding an extra couple weeks, extra month, extra couple months, and we're actually losing more money because we're having to catch up with the market and we don't know where it is anymore. Does that all make sense? Pricing it right the first time is going to create more buyer engagement, more showings, and it's going to get an offer in the average amount of time, or at least it should, if it's priced correctly. Which leads me to my next graph. Okay, and these are all, I use these graphs and I discuss these things with all sellers so I can visually tell them why I'm telling you to price it where I price it. Images, pictures worth 1,000 words. I like to tell stories through it. So this is how we price a home. Every single home will sell when price meets condition. When the market deems that the price and the condition meet. Not when I deem that, not when the appraiser, but when the market deems that, the home will sell in the average amount of time. So if the average days on market for your neighborhood is 30 days and you price it right, it should sell in about 30 days. Make sense? If we price it right, it's not going to sell in 1 week because that's not the average days on market. Price it right, average days on market is when the market will absorb it. So here's the condition, poor, fair, good, and here's the price, low, medium, high. And here's the sale line. As the condition increases, so should the price. All make sense? So there is no, pricing and value is subjective. There is no right value. It's what the market deems. And I know appraisals and appraisers like to think there is a right answer, but it is subjective. You send 5 appraisers out, you're going to get 5 different values. So we're trying to get it in this range, right? This dotted line area. If I can get it around this sale line, it should sell on the average days on market. If the condition's high and I go low on my price, less days on market, faster sale. If my condition is lower and I go higher on price, longer days on market, slower sale, right? So where do we want to price ourselves on this graph? We want to make sure we're in this sale line, right? And we figure out the condition by looking at comps, we figure out price by looking at comps, and we try to put ourselves in this sale line. And if we do that, we also read the market once we're on the market, but this is how we price it prior to the market. So again, these are all adults. Sellers can do whatever they want to do. You tell me where you're going to list it. I'll I'll market as hard as I would market anything else, but I want to make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing, and this is where I'm telling you to be. And if we go higher, the risk is it's not predictable. I don't know how long we'll have to sit on the market. But if you list it in my sale line, it's more predictable. I can tell you approximately how long it'll take. So that's kind of how I like to explain it. So again, the tale of two markets, we're going to show another slide here. The next one is people listing inside this sale zone is one market, and people listing outside the sale zone, really down here, is a whole nother market. And that's why we'll see how some houses in the neighborhood will sell in 2 weeks, and then the other houses in the neighborhood will take 3 months. And we won't know why, but probably because they're outside this sale zone. And they might not be now, they might be priced right now, but they've had to do price drops, and now they're chasing the market instead of letting the market come to them. All makes sense? All right, a lot of head nods. I try to do pictures. Pictures help me. Okay, price reduction effect, tale of two markets. Because I found this tale of two markets word, and I loved it because I'm looking at stuff, and stuff is still selling fast. You put the right house out there, it still sells fast. But then you put stuff out there that should sell, and it takes forever, and it doesn't. And I think, again, it's not a science. It's very subjective. It's an emotional process. You can't nail it down. But this is what we're seeing. So I ran this stat from the last 6 months because it's the data that I had most available. But you take a big enough sample size, averages are averages. So we can go back a year, and I'll bet it's pretty similar. So sellers with price reductions took twice as long to sell their home. So what this means is if you price it correctly the first time and don't have to do a price reduction, you sold on average in 26 days. If you go after aspirational pricing and you try to test the market and you have a price drop, it takes you 57 days on average. And so I did that by finding houses that had price drops and what was their average days on market, and prices that didn't have price drops and what their average days. So people who didn't have to drop their price, they listed in the sale zone, sold in 26 days over the last 6 months. Houses that had to drop their price because they were outside the sale zone, whether they knew it or not, took 57 days to sell. Does that make sense? So there's a huge gap, and if you price it right, it sells quick. If you don't price it right, it sells twice as long. So
Did you run these parameters within any specific price point or just MLS wide?
total MLS, I might have done Oklahoma County. It was Oklahoma County.
Okay.
Because I had to get it under 5,000
Right.
transactions.
Okay.
So it's Oklahoma County, past 6 months, closed in the past 6 months. No price points though.
Okay.
I'm limited by the data I can pull out of the MLS. It's
Right,
very
right.
frustrating. If I just could get in the back end, I could do a lot of damage. But I limited it. But again, it was like 4,900 transactions in 6 months. That's a large enough sample size. If we extrapolate it, it's going to be real similar. A couple percentage difference. But what you're going to see is price drops are about half as much as people that have price drops. Non-price drops is half as people that drop price. So price right the first time. And again, this is what I would be telling my sellers. This is what I've told the last couple sellers Melissa and I have gone on is there are two markets out there right now. And if we can get into that vein of that first market, we're going to be all right. We're going to be fine. And if we miss it, then everything's going to double for us. And so we have to be really careful, really aggressive. And I'm not trying to scare them, but I'm trying to explain the risk associated with testing the market. And the risk is we double our days on market and we have to do a bunch of price drops. And then we're just blindly throwing darts at the board trying to find the buyer's perception of value. So tale of two markets. Price it right, you're good. Don't price it right, it's a completely different softened market for you. So, okay, first couple of slides, we're talking about pricing, the importance of pricing it right. Now we're talking about marketing. I stole this from Gary Keller, very smart guy. Beef up your marketing. He talks about the 3P2F formula, which wasn't as catchy as a name, but these are the things you can do to make your home more marketable. And so it's going to be planting, paint, pictures, fixtures, and furnishings. So planting is going to be curb appeal, right? You got rotted wood, go out there and replace it and paint it. You got chipped paint, paint it. You got dead bushes, pull them out, put new ones in. No one wants to go spend $1,500 or $2,000 on your exterior on a house you're about to move out of. But in a softening market where inventory is increasing every single month, and we're adding an extra 1,000 homes to the inventory every month, you have to do stuff to stand out. We can't just put it on the market and let 50 showings come in and give multiple offers anymore. Those days are gone. So now we have to do what we used to do back in 2015, 16, 17, and we have to actually get the home ready for sale. We can't just clean it, take photos, and put it on the MLS anymore like we used to be able to do. So planting is going to be curb appeal. Very important. First thing people see when they pull up to a house is the curb appeal. First thing they see online is the exterior. First thing they see when they get there is the exterior. Creates emotion. I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's like buyers decide if they like the home within the first 4 seconds. And then they spend the rest of their showing justifying why they love it or justifying why they hate it. So if they love it and they see something wrong, they think, oh, it's not a big deal, we can fix that. And if they hate it and they see that same thing wrong, they think, oh God, look at this, and look at this, and look at this. So they make their decision in the first 4 seconds when they walk in. The exterior, the curb appeal, is a huge piece of that. So have to nail that first. Paint, there is not a better return on investment when it comes to make-readies than a coat of paint. It is incredible. And it's not terribly, terribly expensive, right? Depending on the size of your house or how many rooms you need to do. But there is nothing that will make a house pop faster and easier than a coat of paint. Paint's the number one thing. If you're walking through and you even kind of think it should, paint it, because it will make everything look better. And a lot of people have weird paint in their houses. So if you can make it neutral, it helps a bunch. And it's frustrating because people are going to paint it anyway when they move in, but you have to get to that point first. We have to get someone to move in before we're going to come. So if we got to spend $1,200 painting a house, painting a room, let's do it. Pictures. Professional photos. I remember, again, I got my license in 13, so really until about 15, 16 maybe, a majority of the MLS was iPhone photos, or which iPhone was not that good back then, or people would go buy a $100 camera themselves and shoot it and not edit it at all. Just digital camera, shoot it, upload it. Lighting was terrible, exposure was wrong, pictures. Go back and look at listings from 2014. There's 3 photos and they're all brutal and they're all vertical. It's just marketing was terrible back then. It's gotten incredible now. Pictures, you can't even tell if stuff's real or not. And we don't know if the grass is green or not green really. So number one way, every buyer first interaction with your listing will be online. 100% of the buyer's first interaction will be online with your property. You have to sell it to them online before you get an opportunity to sell it to them in person. So professional photos, drone, doing stuff right with professional photography is huge. My strategy with professional photography or with photography marketing in general is less is more. The purpose of online marketing is to get foot traffic in the house. It's not to sell the house online. No one buys a house online. No one wants to see 5 angles of one room or 3 angles of a bathroom that's this big, right? Too many people fill the whole MLS with 55 photos. And I think that is hurting your marketing. You have to think about buyer behavior, consumer behavior. There are so many houses on the market now. The average consumer is going through Zillow 10 times a day looking for houses. And what they're really doing is trying to rule out houses. So they know they can't go look at everything. So when they're going through Zillow, Realtor.com, your portal, whatever, they're looking for reasons not to go see this house. So they're gonna scroll through and say, oh my gosh, bathroom's too small, backyard's too small, this is ugly, that's not what I want, whatever. So less is more. If you can show them 10 to 15 photos, depending on the size of your house, and they're all magazine quality photos, nothing weird, nothing angled weird, no photo, you don't show any of the bad stuff. They're gonna look at those 10 photos and they're gonna say, I don't hate anything in these photos. They're gonna send it to their realtor and they're gonna say, let's go see this house. The purpose of online marketing is to get foot traffic. It is not to show every square inch of the house. That's why the Matterports are super cool, but unless you've got an amazing house, like magazine quality house, Matterports are, I don't think they do anything to actually sell the home. I think they just sell the agent's marketing more than the home. So again, a lot of people I know, maybe half the market doesn't agree with me and they want to put 55 photos up. I think less is more, and I think you're gonna get more foot traffic by just showing, again, your magazine quality photos and everything else leave out. We don't need to see the laundry room. I know it has a laundry room. unless it's a huge, massive walk-in closet with a big dresser in the center and a huge mirror and winter racks and like, I don't need to see it. Closet's a closet. If it's built in the 2000s, I know what a closet looks like. It's just, we don't need to see these extra things. Don't need to see the water tank. I don't need to see the floor in the garage. Like, these are things that realtors are putting on the photo. It's like, cool, those are good selling features. I want 10 magazine photos. That's what's going to get me in the door. Does that make sense? Less is more. We want foot traffic. Once they come in, now they've identified themselves. I can follow up with them now. Now I know who the realtor is. I can follow up with them. Maybe they call me and I can follow up. So if they're just on the internet, I can't do anything about that. Once they've raised their hand, called me, come see the house, now we can actually do our job and follow up. So pictures are a big one. I see people just kind of, they just put everything out there. And I think it doesn't do what we want it to do. Fixtures. So again, cabinet doors, hardware doors, electrical fixtures, plumbing fixtures. These are all a couple $100 things you can go put throughout. They date homes. Nothing dates homes like fixtures, whether it be electrical or plumbing or hardware on cabinets or doors. So everyone's got a door that sticks and the handle's loose or is broken or whatever. Go fix these little things. Nothing will deter a buyer like walking in and grabbing a door and the handle comes out of it, right? Like, just fix the little things. These are all little things, right? You might spend $2,500 doing make-readies on your home. But guess what? The median sales price is $250, right? So you're going to spend 1% of the value to go sell this house. It's very much worth it. Or it sits on the market for 50 days and you make 2 extra mortgage payments. We have to drop the price twice, right? Let's do it right the first time and save ourselves a whole month and a bunch of price drops. So fixtures, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, these are things that date the home tremendously. Go through and make changes, especially if there's, again, you can walk through a home and use your consumer mind. If you can walk through and see this is something someone's going to ask for or want, bring it up to the clients. And then hopefully if you show them, if you show them this and show them this and show them this and these, if you show them and tell them these things, they're going to be receptive. They're going to say, how do I not become that guy? Tell me what to do to not be this person. And then that's where you can give them all your ideas. So fixtures, the hardware, the fixtures, electrical, plumbing, furnishing, staging. Every listing we put on the last 2 months, I've had staging. It's because they've all happened to have been vacant. But it creates so much more emotion. It looks infinitely better in photos. Looks infinitely better when you walk through a home. You see so many more disrepair when you're walking through a home that's not staged. There's all kinds of stats that talk about how staged homes sell faster and for more money. That's a given. We're going into a softening market. Again, I told my client, a guy called us last week, and we're about to list this house next week. Had it on the market for almost 3 months, dropped the price 3 times, nothing. We walked through it. We said, I actually thought we could go up on price. I thought his price was really good, but he got caught right here, chasing it, couldn't find it. So we're going to pull it off the market for 10 days. We're going to stage it. We're going to take better photos. We're going to market it and position it better online. And then we're going to put it back out there next week. I'll report back next month. Hopefully it's sold by then. But it's just, again, there's all kinds of stats that'll show you furnishing. And if it's furnished, then the second piece of that is, if someone's living in it, the second piece of that is remove the extra furniture. If you got a huge coffee table or an extra end table, or move the stuff, create more space in the room. How you live in a house functionally and how you want to sell a house are 2 different things sometimes. Get rid of the extra stuff. I know my parents have so much stuff just around the house that's never been touched or sat in. It's all, mom just dusts it once a week and does nothing else to the aesthetic of the home. And so move that stuff out, put it in storage, move it to the new place, do whatever. But furnishings and layout, all that stuff is incredibly important. So if it's vacant, I think unless it's just a smoking house in a smoking area, I think you have to stage a vacant home in the coming market.
Subtle plug to Jennifer Rush,
Yeah.
Movers and Stagers, but I was gonna add to that, even if your home's not vacant, Jennifer and Emily have come in and looked at a house with me where the seller had moved out, but she still had a ton of furniture in there. And they went around, added small touches like they're willing to do that too.
Yeah, they do a
Like,
consultation.
Even if it's a furnished house, you can have a stager do a consultation on how to make it look better.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and it's good because they come in and be the bad guy too. Like,
you don't have to say.
yeah, you don't have like this is a horrible setup. You know, move this. Like, she's the professional. Furnishing. So that's decluttering. That's removing big pieces that aren't necessary, that don't show the space, all that kind of stuff. The feng shui, all that stuff has to come into play. If it's vacant, have to stage it. So when it comes to staging, I heard someone say this in a podcast I was listening to. When someone says if something's priced right or overpriced, what they're saying is it's priced right for what I get or overpriced for what I get. And a lot of people forget that second half, for what I get. And so staging and decluttering and painting and all these things increase the what I get piece, right? So a price is the price. We can look at it, we can put it in that sale zone, but then if you can increase the what I get piece of it as well, it supports that price much better. So again, last couple of years, the market can just be throw a price out there and there's nothing else for you to buy, so you get a house. Now there's a lot of more options, so now you have to sell the lifestyle and the functionality of that house. Does that make sense? So big piece of that. Don't forget the what I get piece on the second half of that. Another graph I like to tell people, show people, first impressions matter. I know, I'm stubborn. First impressions matter. These are made up numbers on a made up graph, but it's accurate. I've looked at them, I pulled them, chart's different. But this is what happens. You put a house on the market, your first 2 weeks is when all the people are going to see it. It's the internet, right? It's not going to hide anywhere. You put it on the internet, it goes out to every search portal. If I'm shopping for a house in that area, I'm going to see your house, right? So everyone sees it the first 2 weeks. And then over time, you're only showing it to people who are coming into the market, new buyers entering the market. And there might only be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new buyers per week or per month entering the market. So all your bulk of people saw it in the first 2 weeks. And so like what we're doing with our client that had to pull it off and relist it, we're trying to change up the marketing. Hopefully the buyers that see it won't even realize it's the same house. And we're gonna benefit from this huge bulk of visibility again. But if you price your home incorrectly, everyone sees it's overpriced. And then when you make a price adjustment, no one really cares anymore. I'm looking at new houses that come on. Because guess what? 2,000 more houses came on this month. So first impressions matter. You have to hit it right the first time. Otherwise, you lose your audience over time. Yeah, you got it. Okay, let's talk about buyers. Questions about sellers or conversations, or again, a lot of this is designed to have conversations to show, again, you want to influence. Humans value risk twice as much as they value gain. So if you want to, like, I'm more afraid of losing $5 than I am excited about gaining $5, right? As a human, that's just humans. So you want to influence someone, use risk and use fear and use loss to influence them. So when I want someone to do something, I explain the risk associated if we don't do this thing. Make sense? These are all the risks associated with testing the market, going after aspirational pricing, not being aggressive or creative through a softening market. These all have risks associated with them. I know the upside. You sell it, you make an extra 10 grand than we would have made. That's great. Here are the risks associated with it. And the upside is finite, 10 extra grand. The downside is infinite. Not infinite, but significantly larger, right? We could lose 10, 20, 30 grand on price drops or whatever else. So the risk, you want to influence someone, explain the risk associated with a decision. Questions on sellers, discussions?
No, I'm gonna tell your mama what.
She knows. Every time my sister and I are there, we throw something away. She's like right above a hoarder. She's not a hoarder. You're right above it though.
Get close, huh?
Real close. Yeah. She's like one piece of furniture away. Okay, so working with buyers. So we talked about the discussions we're having with sellers. It is the market softening, inventory is increasing. Very important to position your home the right way the first time, beef up your marketing, all that stuff. With buyers, most of this, I say it in a later slide, is don't allow them to get out over their skis a little bit. Everyone sees the news and everything. It's like, oh my gosh, market's terrible. in our team, we have received an offer that's 100 grand under list and written an offer that is 100 grand under list in the last month too. So I know that's anecdotal, very small experience. That kind of crap is coming. Most of all that can be prevented if you have the right conversations up front. So again, they need to know what's happening in the market. It's shifting. We're going from crazy, insane seller market, unsustainable, RPMs burning red seller market to we're just getting into a balanced market. We're still leaning seller, but we're getting into a balanced market. So we're not coming in at 100 grand low on stuff and getting it. We're not, just realize that we don't want to do too much. We don't want to lose goodwill with the seller by getting out over our skis a little bit. So there's going to be some price opportunities. There's going to be more incentive opportunities. I think that's where I would focus going forward. I'll talk about two of them here, and then more interest rate opportunities. Rates are still high, but there's more incentive money to play with and more price reduction money to play with. So get creative, because what's most important across any 5-year or 10-year period, what is real estate going to do? Is it going to go up or down across a 10-year period? It's going to go up. Might go down a little bit, but it's going to be up in 10 years, I promise. So value is not as important as monthly obligation. What's my monthly payment? That is what we want to try to not ebb and flow, because that I pay every single month. So I want that to be as low as possible. So these two options, first one is a price reduction versus a rate buy down and how that affects payments. And then the second one's price reduction versus closing costs. So again, we're going into a bad market. Let's offer them 20 grand below list. And if they take it, I would rather get 10 grand on a rate buy down than 10 grand on a price reduction. It's going to save us 145 bucks versus 60 bucks a month, right? And this is just a $300,000 house and a 10%. So if you push it to a $600,000 house and to a $20,000, it ebbs and flows, but it'll show you that you're going to actually make more money by giving them their price and asking for all that in a rate buy down than you will by just haggling like crazy on a price. Price doesn't matter. Across a 10-year period, that 10 grand won't matter. But you save 145 bucks a month, that will add up to 10 grand really fast across your tenure in that house. So again, options. When we're looking at houses, don't just throw a crap offer out there. Get creative and get a more favorable opportunity for your buyer, right? These are options you can talk with your lender about, talk with your buyer about. Second piece is a $10,000 price reduction versus $10,000 in closing costs. Hopefully we've all kind of seen this. The net to the seller is the exact same. Loan amount's going to be a little bit higher, but we're actually going to pay $60 more if I take the closing cost, but it's going to take 14 years for that 60 bucks to add up to the $10,000 I saved. And if you know anything about money, time value of money, $10,000 today is worth way more than $10,000 14 years from now, right? Moving is incredibly expensive. Buying a house is incredibly expensive. If you can put $10,000 back into your pocket so you can buy furniture, pay movers, all the junk you need to do when you're moving into a house, that's going to be worth more to you now. So, two different options here. One, you can, instead of just a price reduction, look at rate. And here, instead of a price reduction, look at closing costs for different opportunities. One's going to slightly increase your payment, but you're going to get a ton of value up front. And then one's going to be a better opportunity to lower your payment. Again, so just two different options, two different opportunities, but be creative and don't just like say, let's offer 20 grand low. Like let's get creative. Let's affect our payment. Let's help our day to day and our month to month. Because if I just buy it 10 grand less, me 10 years from now will be happy, but I want to be happy next month and the month after that and every month going forward. So again, options, get creative. So. And again, it's a spectrum. It's a pendulum that moves back and forth. So in a seller's market, there's going to be very low incentives, very low negotiation. We're going to have appraisal gaps, all kinds of crazy stuff. In a balanced market, we're going to have some options. There's going to be a little bit more time. Like you guys said, we're putting 40, 45 days on contracts now. That's going to be average. There's going to be more incentives. And in a buyer's market, we're going to see huge price reductions. We're going to see big incentive options, but we're so far from that yet. We are thousands of listings away from that right now. So two different options. When we're talking with buyers, get creative. It's not just about price. They have these options now. So make sure they understand these options as they're laid out to them. Get with a lender and help explain it too.
Have you guys noticed any of your appraisals coming in higher lately? We've had quite a few.
No.
Not much. But
Good.
like
That's a lot.
4 have been coming in above.
Really?
So,
And our last one had
22,000 above.
yeah.
So
Just have
that's
like
interesting.
10,000 above.
So that's interesting. That's a huge. One is, a home is not worth what it appraises for. A home is worth what someone's willing to buy it for.
Right.
Huge, 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 huge difference. So sure, I can go appraise it for that, but if they turned around and put it on the market, it's not going to sell for that. So very important to understand that difference. If you have clients that get appraisals or whatever it might be, home's not worth what I say it's worth. It's not worth what you say it's worth. It's not worth what the bank or the appraiser says it's worth. It's worth what someone else is willing to pay for it. That's it.
Right.
And so we're seeing in a softening market, people aren't willing to pay what homes are valued at, what comps are showing. And the comps are coming in high, but prices are still coming in low. So that's that kind of separation from appraisal and actual sales price is proof of a softening market.
I'll say too, it's been across all loan types.
Yeah.
My VA, FHA, and conventional, I'm probably putting it over, so.
My mom, I hope.
Have you had any? I was gonna say, no.
I would like these appraisers.
Yeah, can I get these contact numbers?
My mom's came in 30,000 over
Dang.
Yeah.
On what value? What price?
180.
180, and it came in 30 over.
Came in at 220.
Holy
Or
crap.
wait, no, 189. Sorry.
Okay. Geez, still.
Yeah.
That's
Mine's
crazy.
kind of been like, I had one that was, we had it under contract for 99, came in at about 520 on a VA.
Dang.
I was
Yeah.
like, Lord have mercy. But this house
Doesn't
had
make-
the pool, the bells, the whistles, the acreage, all that.
Yeah, extra stuff. I know appraisals are. I could talk for an hour about how I hate appraisals and hate appraisers mostly.
Yeah.
Just like, get off your high horse. Like, who are you? You know?
Entire career field of appraisals.
Yeah, it's.
You can't even get into it.
Oh, is it
You have appraiser on the regular actually.
really? It's hard to get licensed or
No, you
get
you
apprenticeships
have to
or.
test it. You have to get sponsored by an existing appraiser. You
Yeah.
put like 1,000 hours under them, and they don't do it to protect their market.
Yeah.
share.
I've heard the appraisal industry is aging a bunch, like retiring out, and there's not very many coming in. But yeah, I don't like if I'm a retiring appraiser, I don't want someone following me around. Like, I don't want that. I'm gonna do my own thing.
Appraisers in our market need to retire.
Oh yeah,
No kidding.
Appraisers, please.
yeah. Here, turn.
There's one
Uh,
in particular.
So here's a little tip: every appraiser you ever talk to, save their number, and in the notes in their contact, put the properties they appraised, so that you can, 3, 4, 5 years later, I can still hold a grudge on that person if I need to, and
Whenever their name pops up.
when their name pops up, because
I've also been looking on solar properties, like, I've been inputting appraiser name when I close out listings, because I'm like,
So you can
if
look
it
back.
appraised over, if you see this name come across, you're good. If it
Interesting.
appraises, like, I wish there
Just
was
a way to
search
reference it.
appraiser name on MLS.
Probably can.
specifically, Just
Have
to
you-
see differences and.
I bet most people don't put them in.
I'm always frustrated because when you close out a listing, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can put in there that
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Appraiser, appraised value.
So
Yeah,
I've heard agents say that's none of your business, which it's data, but I've heard I know one agent sells a bunch of houses, big team, doesn't put if the seller gives closing costs, she doesn't put that in there.
Oh, you don't
Supposed to, that would be.
You are supposed to.
Yeah,
She doesn't do it.
that's why I was-
Yeah, she doesn't do it though, 'cause she says none of your business.
Reporter.
I know.
I like clicking the button.
The report button? I know. I like her though, so I'm not gonna do it. She doesn't do so many it's gonna affect the market,
Yeah.
but she does a lot of business. So that's where data, we have a bunch of data and it's pretty good, but stuff like that, or it's hard to, know. People don't put interest rates. It'd be cool to see interest rates in there. Title companies, like all kinds of stuff that
They
you don't
let
have to.
put title company now.
Yeah, they don't. It's not required though. So a
Yeah,
lot of people.
That's
All
actually
that-
good data, because I know we all have our own favorite title companies, but if you close with one, if you have a buyer and they close with a title company that's underwritten by the same previous title company,
Mhm.
you usually get a discount on your title insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, because they already hold the policy.
Or
Yeah.
if something funky's going on, or it's a probate or
Yeah.
something, like you can know who did the previous. I don't know.
I've been in random situations where I wanted to know who closed it last,
Yeah.
and we have to go figure it out, and it'd be nice if it was just there.
History on MLS
I have to go
and all
ask
that
them, yeah,
numbers.
check numbers, and yeah, call the agent, and yeah. So, okay. So again, don't get ahead of your skis. don't get over your skis. That's what it should have been. Don't get ahead of them either. Both are dangerous. So if you have buyers just reading the national news or reading whatever, it's different. There's a difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics, right? Even within our market, the entire MLS as a whole versus this zip code or this city or this neighborhood or this county. So here I put the months of supply inventory, and I did entire MLS, Edmond, Norman, and Oklahoma City. So when you take the entire MLS, the month supply is 4.1, but you take Norman and it's 3.5. So Norman technically still in a seller's market, right? So your buyers need to know this. If I'm going into a neighborhood that has an average of 5 days on market and inventory is still 2 in this neighborhood or whatever, because you can do month supply of inventory per neighborhood. You should look at how many sold in the last 12 months and how many there are now and divide it. So if I'm looking at a neighborhood that's still hot and it's insulated for whatever reason, you can't act like you are if you're just buying some random house in the metro that's been on the market for 50 days, right? So be smart, rein your clients in, make sure where they're shopping, Norman or Edmond or whatever, where you're shopping, make sure you have information and data on that area so that you know how aggressive you can be with your offers and your incentives. But there's a difference between the microeconomics of the city and as the nation and the micro, did I say that? Macro of the nation and the city, and then micro of the zip code or even the neighborhood or the community. I'm sure we can all think of one neighborhood that's like, when a house in there pops up, doesn't matter what the market's like. Someone's waiting on it and they're gonna buy it. Same with median days on market. You can see they're not exact. You know, there's a 5-day average a median difference between Edmond and the Oklahoma City average. So if you're buying in Edmond, you know, we've got 3.8, you know, there's half a month difference in an inventory, in days on markets 5 on average lower. So we're not in a balanced market in Edmond, right? We're still more of slightly into a seller's market. So know the difference of your area. But when you take all the data at once, we're slowly moving into it. And more than anything, economics is part of its numbers, but the other part of its sociology. And it's just people's reaction to stuff. The stock market has almost nothing to do with the businesses that you're buying or selling and only people's perception of them. And same thing here. If everyone thinks the market's crap and everyone starts making crap offers, the market will slowly turn into crap. So if you can educate and advise, we can prevent getting these $100,000 low offers and stuff like that. So understand the difference between your market where your client is or the market where you work versus the city average or the national average. Because people are going to ask you, how's the market? And they saw some headline on Wall Street Journal or whatever, has nothing to do with Oklahoma. Almost nothing. So, discussing with buyers. So to kind of wrap up, don't get over your skis. Micro versus macro, understand the difference and knowing how to find that data and communicate that data. And in general, the market has softened, but for homes that are priced right and market correctly, there will always be high demand, low days on market, and potentially multiple offers. So again, if we position it correctly, price it correctly, we can still enjoy these seller market results. But if we try to pretend it's 2021 still, like you said, we will be punished. The market will punish us. So when we're talking to sellers, when we're talking with buyers, explain the risk associated with the decision they're trying to make. Just so, again, so we can, 1, educate them, but 2, we can influence their decision of it. Sometimes buyers and sellers, you have to help them get out of their own way to get to the finish line of what they want to do. Because everyone wants to buy or sell, but when we get caught up in it, we get hung up over $500 or something silly, right? Sometimes you have to, it's emotional. You have to help them get out of their own way sometimes. So, so the tale of two markets. If you're priced right, marketed correctly, positioned correctly, you can still enjoy the spoils of a seller's market. But we have to be realistic about what we're doing and where we're at in the market we're in. If you have these conversations with your sellers, your houses won't sit on the market all the time for a long time. So that's all I got, guys. Any questions on that?
If you want to avoid a punishment, and you're at a point where you think that it's time that you're going to have to make a price reduction, I was talking with somebody the other day about making a offer for discounts or for rate buy downs, and instead of a price reduction, I mean,
Mhm.
it's still gonna get back on in front of everybody else just the same because you make a change in the remarks.
I don't know if Remarks sends it to the portal
Does it
anymore.
not?
It used to.
Okay.
Changing photos, remarks. You could go in and change it from a 4-bed to a 3-bed, and it would send it out to everyone.
Okay.
Because we used to do that a lot. And now it's only price,
You can do that and put temp off market for 1 day.
and then throw it back on. Oh, okay.
Actually,
That's not bad.
Zillow blasts it as a new listing after
Yeah.
it comes back from temp off market,
Even 1 day?
even 1 day.
Interesting.
And it's funny because the rules say, they say the reasons why why you can temp off market or request it by the seller.
Yeah.
So I've done that, and I've had the seller give me a really generic signed thing, just in case the MLS comes after me.
Yeah.
I'm requesting you take my house off the market for 1 day because I do not want people looking at it for a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Tired. I'm gonna nap tomorrow.
Yeah, and then it comes back on and it looks good.
That's good. Yeah. With the Roush Coleman stuff, forever they would drop the price $1, and it's silly, but it blasts it out to everyone. Again, it just it spams people with their listings. So we talked a couple months ago about actually reading the market for your seller and how to have price drop conversations. I probably should have added that in here. When you're doing price drops, you have to talk about price drops during the listing appointment, up front, before you list it. If these criteria or this parameter happens, we are going to drop the price. They're going to say, okay, great, sounds good, because it's all hypothetical at that point. I'm not going to get mad at you. When that stuff happens, then we can say, hey, remember I said this, and this happens, we should talk about a price drop. These are happening now. And if you set that expectation properly and provide weekly data updates, normally my sellers actually come to me and ask me if it's time to do a price drop before I have to go to them. If you explain it properly, provide them the data where they can read the market themselves, and then, like I think Graham mentioned the other day, you should never tell your client, I feel like we should drop the price. We need to make data-driven decisions. The market is telling us it's time to drop the price based on these points of data. And then there's nothing, it's not me. I think your house is beautiful and amazing and great. I wish I talked my wife into buying it. I'd love to. The market is telling us that it's time to do a price drop. Or be okay waiting. That's an option too. So the more you can set expectations, have data, make data-driven decisions, it makes your price drop conversations infinitely easier. And we're just gonna have more price drops over the next year or so. So you leaving? See ya. Thank you.
I will say, I feel like I've noticed this a lot of times talking to like my buyers and sellers. I think it's also important to know like why buyers and sellers are needing to buy or sell right now.
Mhm.
And during the COVID market, it was because, everything's so cheap. Or,
Free money.
Hey, we can get a great interest rate now. It's all emotional decisions. It's your 5 Ds.
Mhm.
So when you're having to have those pricing discussions, you meet a lot of seller objections because they are having to leave their home for emotional life circumstances versus, we can go get a bigger house for less money.
Payment, yeah.
So when the interest rate's low, everyone's leaving at dollar signs, but now it's emotional.
There's more
reasons.
driven, yeah, there's more motivation.
Yeah.
The other thing we used to do a bunch back in the day was reverse offers. Has anyone tried this as a seller, as a listing agent?
I've heard of them, but
Yeah, never had to do it.
yeah.
I just get 20 offers without doing anything, so I don't need a reverse offer.
I mean, we kind of had to put feelers out on our last listing. We ended up going under contract, so we didn't, but there was one buyer we were gonna have to kind of like
We were
lure
fighting.
into it.
Yeah.
Like, what if we give you this? And
Yeah.
then we got something else.
So we would actually write offers and sign it by the seller
That's crazy.
and send it to the buyer. Because people would say, I like it. They've narrowed it down to 3 houses or whatever. And you send it and say, hey, my sellers are interested in this, if you're interested in this. And they might get more than what they're expecting or whatever it might be. So in a market where you're scratching and clawing, or you have a client, you're about to expire your listing agreement or whatever, let's get aggressive. If someone says they like it, let's tell them what we can do and get it out there. And it might be, hey, we'll give you $20,000 towards a rate drop. So this house payment will be $150, $200 lower than any other house payment you're going to get. So get creative but reverse offers is a tool we used to use back in the
Did you ever
day.
get one to-
One,
Yeah, did
yeah, it was a new construction. We offered to put in a pool, so
Jeez.
yeah,
You know what, I would
it was a very expensive. Yeah, it was it was weird circumstance. It was a custom home that they had basically built. Guy lost his job, so the builder got a $50,000. There was a bunch of upgrades, and the builder kept taking the upgrade money, so he was flush on the house, and he wanted to get rid of it, and it was like $800 and something thousand. So someone said, we love it, but we want a pool, and so then they left, and a couple weeks later we reached out. We're like, hey, what if we put a pool in? And they said, yeah. So we did it. It worked. But we wrote a bunch that didn't work. Do
I
what?
almost had a seller do that for me
Mhm.
recently.
Yeah.
We looked at a new construction over the course of a month and a half.
Yeah, a couple times.
Up in Guthrie, we've been out there 3, 4, 5 times. The seller, the builder showed up.
Mm.
And he's like, hey, you tell me what you
Yeah,
want me to do,
exactly.
and I'll do it.
That's why FSBOs are terrible.